Hello everyone, good to see you, as always. My name is Anna. I am the creator here on Savouring the Indo-Caribbean, and I'm so excited that we've been having this series, the holiday wind down series, Take It Easy with Anugraha Yoga TT. I'll be joined by the wonderful Renee Rampersadsingh, and today's a really special session because we're going to be incorporating food, and you know, Savoring's all about food here. And last week we actually had an introduction to meditation and we discussed the meaning of yoga. So if you haven't checked that one out yet, I highly suggest it. It was such a beautiful session. All of these sessions are going to be a topic, a wellness topic, as well as a centering practice and meditation at the end. So with this particular session, we invite you all to grab 3 spices. If you haven't already, it would be cloves, thyme, and geera or cumin. If you have them on hand, you can have the already ground version of it, or you can have the whole version. Either one is perfectly fine. So we'll be doing a little bit of an interactive, sort of experimental session today. And I'm so excited about this because throughout my journey as well, I've been trying to bring a little bit of mindfulness to my cooking, to the experience I have with food, my relationship with cooking. So this is going to be a really great topic. And hi Ryan, it's good to see you. And so I'm going to bring Renee on, and just a reminder as well that we're going to be doing a centering practice and a meditation. So if you want to be in a space that's that would allow you to do that, if you have people around you that would want to participate in this, grab them as well. And I think it's going to be a great session. So I am going to have Renee join. I'm gonna do that and see if that works. Hey Renee.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Turning up volume.
I'm gonna turn this down. How are you doing? You're well?
I am good. I am good. It's been a good week.
Good. I'm so excited about this because you know that this is sort of how we started our conversation about how we can collaborate together, because
Yes.
we love food here on Savoring, and you're all about mindfulness and all the well-being, so we put them together.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good way to get people into mindfulness and into well-being. We all need to eat. We all need to cook. So yeah.
And I love what you bring is like this reminder for us to use everyday activities to incorporate mindfulness into our everyday. Because as you've mentioned, you know, meditation isn't just, you mentioned this last time, meditation isn't just on the mat, right? It's like our everyday lives. And so how can you bring a little bit of presence? And so today it's all about food and cooking, and I'm so excited. So if you're just joining us, this is going to be an interactive session. And if you have cloves, cumin, or geera, or thyme on hand, it would be a great time to grab those. We're going to be, Renee is going to guide us through. I have no idea what we're doing, which is great.
Making this up as we go.
Yes. That's the best. That's presence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So Renee, before we begin, I'm going to hand it over to you to say hi and to just do a little bit of a centering for us to just bring us into this moment.
Okay, so my name is Renee. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and I want to invite you all before we begin just to come into a quiet space. And this is so we set the tone for our session, because we are working on being more mindful, on coming into a good space, and we are all holding this space. So I invite you, if you're seated or if you're still moving around, just to pause for a few breaths wherever you are. And we can close our eyes or take a soft gaze. Beginning to focus on your breath. And as you focus on the breath, with your exhale, let your body soften. Let your body relax. Begin to come home to your body. And then take a moment to observe how you're feeling physically and how you're feeling emotionally. Gently, as we breathe out, we release. And breathing in, we observe what thoughts are present. Noticing what thoughts we might have about our session. As I said, it is going to be very free-flowing. We are going to have some fun together. So observing what thoughts are present. And gently breathing out fully, releasing all expectation. Gently breathing in. And when we're ready, if our eyes are closed, we can open our eyes. And we'll begin.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you so much. I love that you reminded me not to have expectations. Release the expectations.
It's like open mind, open heart, everything.
Yeah. So I see we have a few new joiners. So just a reminder for anyone, this is going to be an interactive sort of participatory session. So we're going to be using spices and herbs to connect with mindfulness. And so if you have cumin, cloves, and thyme on hand, please bring them to the session or go to your kitchen and grab them. Be there in the kitchen. And if there's a space that's available for you to just be here and be present, we encourage that as well.
Yeah.
All right. So Renee, just to start this conversation off, when it comes to food and cooking, and I'm sure you're going to have me do some things, but tell us a little bit about how we can bring food, like mindfulness, into food and cooking.
Yeah, so mindfulness is part of our yoga practice. Mindfulness is not a new thing, but can be found in all of our contemplative practices, in Buddhism, in yoga, in Chinese philosophy, all of this. It's not a new thing. It is becoming aware, like how last week we talked about, yoga helps us to build that self-awareness. And mindfulness is about the same thing, building that awareness of, how are we in this moment? What are we doing? How are we operating? What's going on in our space? And one of the important things that we have to do in our space is feed ourselves or feed those around us, because truthfully, I'm kind of bad at feeding myself, but I'm very good at, if my people around me are in need of food, I will jump in and make something. I will, that kind of thing. My husband always says I give him concoctions, that kind of thing. But I'm not great at remembering to, for me, I don't really focus on myself so much. I focus on nourishing those around me. So it is a work in progress for me, and practice as well, right? And we want to do this to build this mindfulness into our food and cooking, because it is such a major part of our lives. We eat multiple times for the day. During the pandemic, we might be growing our own stuff. We might be trying to find the sources that are nourishing to us, that are trying to, we're trying to connect with the food that is most healthy, that will give us more energy, that will nourish and sustain us. And when we take the time to become more aware of how the food is growing, how we are preparing our food, how we are connected to certain foods, then that is part of taking care of ourselves. That is part of, inhales in mango. Me too, Julie Mango. Inhales in mangoes. Yeah, it is, that is part of our nourishment and taking care of ourselves.
I love that. And it's so interesting that, even throughout, you mentioned we're not very good at, and I don't want to bring gender into it, but I feel like as women, we kind of have this role of feeding other people, and we neglect ourselves in this way. So I just want to underscore what you've just mentioned there. And I think for me particularly too, it's like, if you're, for example, working and, you have a lunch and you're just trying to get through the lunch, you're not trying to think about what you're eating, and And I mentioned earlier, like this relationship that we have to food and this relationship we have to eating. It's like reflecting on that a little bit, like you just mentioned to us about yours, I think is such a great place to start. And so what I was thinking when you were saying that is like, for food, it used to be just like a means to an end. Like, I just got to eat. I just got to solve, I'm hungry, so I got to solve this problem, right? And so as my mindfulness practice, as my meditation practice, as my yoga practice progressed, my relationship with food and cooking has, dramatically changed over time, especially in the last 2 years or so. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Sharing that.
Thank you. Yes, we're talking mangoes.
Yes. So Renee, I have my spices on hand, so I'll just show everyone my spices. So if you're around and you have cloves, I have cloves here. I have ground cumin already.
That's fine.
And then I have some of my thyme.
Yes, and I just shared in my stories that I don't have any farm thyme on hand. I had a thyme plant and it died. And so the last of my thyme, I take the leaves of the thyme and I steep it in oil and put it in these silicone molds in the fridge. Ooh. So that I then have, seasoning and oil that I could use anytime I don't have the fresh. So I have that, but I also I got some Spanish thyme from my garden. So that's all. Yeah, and the reason that I think we're doing 3. We're not cooking. It's kind of hard to do the cooking, especially now. But I do want us to appreciate, how each spice, how each herb kind of connects with us, and what are the sense memories, what are the feelings, what are the connections that we have, and what that brings up in us. Today was very rainy in Trinidad. I don't know Tobago, but it's been very rainy, and we made a pot of dal. And let me tell you, it's the most comforting thing to smell, to have the chunky, the geera, and to have the scent of it. And, it's just the scent alone can get you into a space where you feel comforted and you feel nourished and you feel warm in the whole cold day that was. And I know you're in Canada and it is cold, but it's cold here too.
I accept that it's cold in Trinidad as well. But yeah, and I think you mentioned dal. Oh my God, like chunking dal is like the most is one of my favorite things. And yes. Renee, the sound, the sizzle. I know we're talking about smell, but the sizzle of when it's sizzling and then you put it in.
It is a sensory experience, and it connects us to not just the food itself, but like I have so many Saturday morning memories of cooking dal for my family, of having dal with my family, of learning to make dal. It's these kinds of things. And that when we take the time to be mindful and to connect to, our spices and to connect to like how we're preparing them, what we're doing, we connect to those experiences that we have had and that have come down to us as well. Because I know we want to talk about how it connects to our heritage. So it's in all of this, right? The thread that weaves through how we take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And going back, and if anybody has this experience with dal, like let us know. Can you relate to this with us? And if there's any other foods that are that bring you back to a place. And I think that's one of the benefits, and that's one of the ups of being mindful when you're cooking, because you have these thoughts, you have these memories, and they become rituals that connect you with your ancestors. And you wonder. The other day I was baling roti, and so I do a technique that my mom taught me. And so I was there and I was doing this, and I love touching the dough. And when I oil the roti before we leave it to set, I was just thinking like how many women before me have done it this way, and then all of a sudden roti making is not just me trying to make roti, it's a ritual,
Yeah, it becomes like, the picture do you watch Avatar, The Last Airbender?
Yes. Yes.
Do you know the image often they have of Ang, and then all of the avatars behind him. And this is what, like, when we think about, you know, the women making roti and all of the women who have gone before, who teach one after the other, you know, and we pick up and we learn these things. Yesterday with tomato choker, oh yes. More conversations about dal.
I made Indy Patel just said I made yesterday with tomato choka. I had the leftovers today, and the smell throughout the house is so comforting. Yeah. And see Parsatan. Sorry, I'm saying these wrong. Yes. Certain aromas take you back to your childhood. And Indy Patel says, when I was younger, I made every Saturday for my parents.
Me too.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And so, you know, this is really like an important underlying theme that we have here, is like how our food connects us with our families, how they connect us with our ancestors, and just being present, putting away the phone when you're cooking and just being there brings up all of these thoughts and feelings and emotions. So
it really does.
Thank you for sharing that.
We should actually do some. So I have the whole cumin, geera. I know you have the spice, and that's fine. So if you have whole, I also have my mortar and pestle. And I know, you know, usually we roast and then we grind, but it's fine. So I just want us to, if we have the whole one, to put it into our mortar pestle. And if we have the ground one, to dip your fingers in, close your eyes. Close your eyes. So we're taking a moment. We can keep our eyes open or closed, but we want to, as much as possible, become aware of the touch, of the feel of our spice. And right now we're working with the geera. So if you have the powdered geera, feel how it feels between your fingers. If you are crushing it in your mortar pestle, listen to the sound of it. Notice what scents come up as you run it between your fingers. And then we're going to bring it up to our nose, just for a little bit. Inhale. And then move this away, exhale. We bring it back, inhale. And move away, exhale. We go one more, bring it in, inhale. And move away, exhale. And taking a moment just to observe what we feel, what physical reactions we feel within our body. Notice what emotion might become present. Notice what thought or memory comes into your space. And observe, because yeah, it's all in your fingers now. Observing as you reflect on it, you know, what comes up and where it comes up. And think of just one word for it. And if we're ready, we're going to open our eyes. And I invite you to share that one word in the chat. And Anna, you can share it here, speaking with me.
Yes.
What is your word?
Joy.
Joy.
Joy. Like, it was so nice. Like, it was just like, I didn't want to use comforting, but comforting is also the other one. But like, just joy. Like, it was just so nice. And just touching, I've never really touched the spice with my bare hands, like with my eyes closed. So it was so nice to
feel it. It's
to be with it that way. And so Indy Patel says nostalgic.
Nostalgic takes us back, doesn't it? Mine's would be grounding, because I find, I mean, yes, it is nostalgic for me. It is a scent that brings up so much memories. But for me, the spice itself, it really makes me connected to the earth. Like, I feel like it's been growing. It feels very strengthening. It feels like all of that is what it brings up when I get into the feel and sense of it. So yes, Thank you for sharing, Indy. I think we can. Hi, Laura. Shall we move on to clove?
Yes, let's do cloves.
I'm wondering if we should have had a palate cleansing something, but we'll take a moment, breathe out fully, and breathe in. Just one more breathe out. And as we breathe in, we're taking up. So I have here my clove. Is yours ground or whole?
No, it's whole. It's whole.
Okay. And we're taking a whiff. Again, closing our eyes or keeping a soft gaze. Bring in our clove, smelling. Inhale. And moving it away, exhale. Gently bringing it in once more. And move away, exhale. And we're going to pick up a clove, a single clove. And take a moment just to observe the clove itself. So looking at what we see, how it looks, what it reminds you of. Oh, I know cloves are so tiny. I don't think it will focus. Yeah. And noticing what it feels like in your fingers, in your hands. And then if you are brave or you are accustomed to doing this, we're taking a bite. And then when you move it out, we'll go.
Wow, Renee, I've never done this before, and it's like really revolutionizing my experience here of spices.
Very nice. What do you all observe? If you observe anything. So for me, this one would be, I remember growing up, if ever we had a toothache or any kind of mouth issue, we would get clove and bite down. And clove is one of the things that is, I believe it helps to reduce inflammation. It helps to reduce all of, if you have any toothache, if you have things. And, you said it was a whole new experience. How is it? What is the experience?
Well, tasting it by itself was new, and just looking. I don't know if I've ever taken the time, Renee, to just look at clove. Like,
look, such a pretty thing.
It's so pretty, and it's like a little mini flower, and like it has this little ball there that's like, I've never taken the time really to like observe clove and like look at it properly. You just dash it in whatever you're dashing it in, right? But yeah, with cloves, what took me back to, my mom used to make this thing with milk and cloves and cinnamon and nutmeg, and I think she would like beat an egg, and I forget what we call it. I forget what she calls it, but yeah, it took me back to that drink.
Sounds good.
I feel like it's called cove.
Cool.
If anybody knows what cove is, let me know. I think it's called cove in Guyana. Indy Patel says, yep, I dash here and dash there. I love it in pancakes.
Oh, I love it in pancakes. I like cloves, cinnamon, nutmeg, that mix in any baked or cooked good. I love it.
Yes. And Kara Biz Network says, just learned something new, cloves. Yes. Cloves is so good. And that trio that you just mentioned is just...
Yeah. And for any of you who do like oil pulling, and oil pulling is a cleansing where we use the oil in the morning to pull oil. You can put some cloves in there in that oil because it is good for your mouth breathing, and it is like when you do pull with that oil, feels very nice and it tastes very nice and it feels very luxurious.
You just revolutionized that too for me, Renee. I just use coconut oil for oil pulling. And if anyone, and as Renee was mentioning, oil pulling is just having oil in your mouth and kind of gargling it, swishing it.
Yeah.
It's a Ayurvedic practice, one of an Ayurvedic practice that we do.
Yeah. So I
All
know
right.
we have like limited time.
Yes. All right. So what's next?
The next one is whatever time you have on hand because I have Spanish.
Have fine time.
That's fine. So I was looking it up, and all of this, all time is, I think, mint related family. That's the family it comes from. And I thought it was so interesting because I really don't like straight up mint at all. I really, really don't. But I love thyme. And this one, so this one that I have is, we call it pudina here in Trinidad and Tobago. And it can grow wild. It can take over your garden if you let it. And it's called Spanish thyme. It's called Spanish mint. It's called Indian mint. It's called, I think, borage. I can't pronounce it. But all of the thyme is related in that mint thing. And I just thought it was so interesting because I don't like mint. But I do like it. And this is, from what I've been reading, they're all like antibacterial. So all good to know and good for coughs. So if anyone has a cough right now, your fine time, my time, it's all good for coughs.
Yeah,
so we're going to, so this one is, we have a leaf or a stick or a branch. And we're going to close our eyes, hold it in our hands, and take a moment just to observe as we breathe out fully how the thyme feels in our hands, how it feels in our fingers, between our fingers, what we notice. Breathing out fully, and we're going to gently pinch because we want to bruise the leaf. And bring it up to your nose. We're breathing in. And move away, breathe out. Gently bring it to our nose, breathe in. And move it away, breathing out. We go again, one more, breathe in. And out. And noticing what comes up, what is the sensation as you breathe it in? What sensation do you feel? And then if we are feeling brave, if we're up for this, we take a bite. And we can, if we're okay, we can take a bite and hold it in our mouth, or we can just move it away. It's fine. And then when we bring it away, we want to, again, breathe out fully. And breathe in through our teeth. And breathe out. When we're ready, we can open our eyes if our eyes are closed. And again, one word for your experience. Notice what has come up, what we feel, what we notice.
That's a hard one word.
It is, okay, 3 words, 3 words.
Well, I'll just say nostalgic because so many of these is just bringing up so many memories for me. And I encourage anyone who's watching this that is just watching to definitely play this again and go through this with Renee as well, again, on the replay, because what's happening right now is just profound for me because it's like, you know, you're connecting with food in a very intentional way that allows you to really connect pretty deeply. So for me, when I was going through this and I was smiling, I felt like I was smiling because I was remembering when I was younger, and my mom had a broadleaf thyme plant, and she would tell me to go pick a thyme for her.
Yes.
And so that it brought me back to that, and it also brought me back to like I used to like pinch the leaves like when I was younger for like no reason, just pinch it and like tear it. And my hands would smell up like thyme.
Yeah, yeah. And so it is. We could, and each of our herbs and our spices and everything has sense connection and their sense impact on us. Has a taste, it has a feel. And when we are mindful, when we take the time to appreciate each and every one of them, we have a fuller experience of eating and cooking and nourishing. And I feel like when we take the time to just really connect to all of the different spices and herbs and all that we use, then we, as I said before, it is a way of self-care and nourishing ourselves. And as I said before, I'm just so much better at doing it for others, and I really need to like zone in on this on myself. And I know that, like for me, a big part of it is that I enjoy the process of preparation so much that by the end of preparation, I am full and I don't want to eat anything. But this is all part of it. So like be able to find that balance of appreciation for prep and then even in the cooking and then the eating, because in consuming it as well, you want to remember what you put in preparing it, right? And you want to honor the how much it has grown and how it has come to you in what form, because like the clove is dried up flower buds of a tree. So for us to have clove, I don't know where it would have come from for it to reach all the way here into Trinidad. So what it would have gone through for me to be able to like, oh, this is I love. So it is taking the time and making the time to appreciate. And as I said, cooking is something we do all the time. So
yeah, we prepare 3 meals a day, right? And so we can probably talk about this forever, Renee, and I would love to have you back on just to even discuss this topic even further, because I think it's so important, even like when you're washing your rice, like feeling the grains in your hand. There's so much you can bring to an experience when you cook, and it changes that experience completely. And back to the subject of, you were mentioning that about, when you're preparing, sometimes we're eating as we're preparing. And so I noticed that about myself too. And what I do is I never cook hungry. I always have something and then I go into my cooking, because I'm just like that too. And after you're finished cooking, you're like, I don't even feel like eating my own food.
And it's such good food.
And it's such good food, yeah. And so, yeah. So before we end off, just wrapping up the conversation around identity and culture, and what are your last words around what we can do to like really connect with our food and our culture and with these spices?
I think it is to give ourselves the experience and then to look back into your past and see what comes up. Because as you say, when we connect to the different spices and herbs, it takes us back into our memories of home. And we can always go back and ask our family members as well, what are your memories? What are your feelings? What, this little experience that we've had here, share it with your family and see what comes up, because that is a rich experience when everyone gets together and they can say, oh, this reminds me of, especially if it's in a group of mixed ages, right? Because then you have a wealth of experience and you can build up that circle. And that is so much community and support right there. And you don't necessarily have to do it with your family. If your family is not close by, you can do it via, online, or you can do with friends, whoever is close to your heart. You can learn so much and build so much connection by observing what is in your food and how you treat with your food and your prep and all of that.
I love that. And I think one of the things for me that was really comforting during this last 2 years while we were in this pandemic was rooting myself in culture through food. And it brought me so much groundedness, so much, and I gravitated towards cooking our home meals, because for some reason like we mentioned last time, it's in us, you know, and when we bring it out, we connect and we feel like we're part of something bigger. So cooking our own
Yeah,
foods is just an experience in itself.
it
And
is.
Cara Biz Network says, my Spanish time has taken over my fire escape in Brooklyn. Don't tell my super. Hopefully they don't
You can
watch
go
this.
anywhere.
Um, and they also said if you are in a family of mixed migrant status living abroad, yes.
Yeah, then you can really connect, and mixed families especially has so much different history, and similarities, because like some of these spices, some of these foods, they cross cultures, they cross boundaries. So you might have one particular experience, but someone else will have a different kind of, but similarly related experience.
And one last thing that I want to mention, I see Ryan here on the live as well. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. And I think we as women need to be a little bit more intentional about sharing the cooking and sharing the kitchen and sharing the responsibilities. And I think men need to be a little bit more. This wouldn't be alive with me if I didn't mention this, but men need to, I think, be a little bit more cooperative in the kitchen and find ways to take initiative if they can, and take care of themselves, because listen,
I have hit the jackpot with my husband because he is really good. He's very good at doing that, and where I take care of him, he takes care of me, so that works out well. But coming from Indo-Caribbean background, I was the one in the kitchen most of the time. Luckily, I have also taught my brother, and he is an excellent cook. But like our dad, my dad did not cook ever in life until we left home. He did not know how to until I got married and moved out. That is when he started cooking, because otherwise it was always someone there to cook or to give him food or to that kind of thing. So it is, I feel good to see how it is changing, because it is changing. And now that, especially now, women our age and stuff are talking about it and teaching those around us that, it is needed, that there needs to be that balance. Yes, normalize men who cook.
I think it's a life skill at this point, right? So Brian says, Indo-Caribbean Canadian says, this was great, so insightful. Yes, men
Thank
in
you.
the kitchen, and normalize men who cook. Yes. And I think, you know what, some of it too, my dad's a big cook too, and I know so many men that are cooks, and so I think sometimes you just need to find them and remember. I think we put a lot of emphasis on the ones who don't, but there are a lot of men who do cook, like you're mentioning, like your husband, and so have them be mentors and role models for men in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So before we leave off, if you wanted to do like a really short meditation.
I do. Yeah. So again, just before we close, we want to do salient about medicinal plants. Indeed, that's amazing. I don't remember learning anything about medicinal plants in school. I'm so glad they're doing that now.
So much is changing, right?
Yes. I invite you all to come into a comfortable seat if you're able to sit. If you're moving around, just take a pause. We're going to observe our posture. Take a moment. Notice how you are holding the body. And we can close our eyes or take a soft gaze. We want to relax the muscles around our eyes. And as we focus on our breath, we also focus on what we might have tasted or felt or smelled today in this session. Noticing, if you've been here from the beginning, what remnants of our herbs, our spices are with us. And if you're now joining, taking a moment just to reflect on what herbs and spices you feel connected to. Breathing out fully, deeply. Breathing in. Breathing out and releasing, letting go. And as we breathe in, we go beyond our memory of scent, taste, and touch. And notice what is at the very core of our being when we contemplate food, when we contemplate connection and identity. Gently breathing out fully and deeply. And breathing in, observing what you feel in your body. Observing on your next inhale what is present in your heart. And on our next inhale, observing what is present in our mental space. Just observing, not engaging. And whatever is there, holding that for this moment. As we begin to come out, we will breathe out fully. Feel our seats or the ground below us. As we breathe in, we draw up through the crown of our head, observing the length, the strength of our body. Physical body is known as the food body. And so we know that whatever we intake food-wise helps to form our body, helps to nourish, helps to support us. Gently we'll breathe out. And on our next inhale, when we're ready, we can open our eyes. So, thank you all for joining us. If we have any last questions or comments.
It's always nice to come back to this space after the meditation. And so, Renee, one of the things that came, you're going to ask me, I know, so I'm going to get to it. I'm going to beat you to it and say what I was feeling and thinking. I was actually just having a lot of gratitude for you, Renee, for doing this together and for sharing space with you and for you to bring this to our community. I'm just so grateful. That's what was coming up for me a lot in this meditation.
You're welcome. I was so happy to share, you know. Yeah, I'm glad.
Laura says yes. If anybody else wants to share what they've observed, we would love to hear. If you're watching this on the replay, let us know in the comments. And I'm loving these, Renee. I hope that you're enjoying them too. I'm so excited for next week. We're going to be doing an intro to pranayama or breath work, and I'm really excited for that. So,
Laura, what did you observe?
Laura will have to tell us.
Yeah.
So, Renee, any last words for us before we end off?
I think gratitude is a good place to close on because we want to be grateful for the food that nourishes us, for the practices and teachings that have come down to us, and for those who have taught us, so much about living with the land and living with our spaces and living in community. So gratitude for these experiences. Yeah.
Love that. And with that, I say thank you, Renee. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Everybody for joining us. And we will see you here next Monday. So every Monday,
Monday.
in December. We'll see you again.
Yes. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.